Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Ramadan Moonsighting Live with the Royal Observatory Greenwich and the New Crescent Society. My name is Jake Foster. I'm an astronomer at the Royal Observatory in Greenwich, and I'm joined by my co-host, Imad Ahmed, Director of the New Crescent Society. Imad, thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure to be here, Jake. The first Ramadan moon sighting we did was in 2018. Seems like yesterday, 5 years ago now. And here we are in 2023. So it's amazing to be here again.
Fantastic. Now, right now we are live on Facebook and YouTube, so get involved with the conversation, leave us a comment, send us a question, and let us know if you have sighted the moon this evening. Now, this evening we are following the search for the new crescent moon to mark the start of Ramadan. But Imad, for those who don't know, why is astronomy so important in Islam?
I think astronomy is important for everybody, people of all faith, because the sun, the stars, the moon, the sky, it's a natural source of wonder, which of course is related to a sense of spirituality. But in particular in Islam, we use celestial bodies for our ritual practice. We use the sun for our daily prayers. We use the stars, or we used to use the stars, I guess, before Google Maps, in order to direct ourselves towards Mecca, which is where Muslims pray. But today, what we're talking about is the moon. And the Islamic calendar is based on the visibility of the lunar crescent. And we go out and look for the moon every month. So this month, especially, it's Ramadan. It's the Muslim month of fasting. And the moon will determine when we begin the fast, because it determines when the month begins. And it determines when the next month begins as well, which is when we end the fast. So astronomy is important, but it has a particular practical use in the day-to-day life of Muslims.
Fantastic. Now, you are the director of the New Crescent Society.
Yes, yeah.
For those who don't know, what is the New Crescent Society?
The New Crescent Society is an amateur astronomy organization which celebrates the relationship between astronomy, faith, and Islam. We have a long-standing relationship with the Royal Observatory in Greenwich and the Royal Museums in Greenwich, where we run a program which is called the Astronomy and Islam program. This live stream today is part of that program. It's an award-winning program, I should say, and we've had a monthly Planetarium show which has been sold out every single month for over 5 years now. As an organization, we have a particular issue we're dealing with as well, which concerns Muslims in the UK. In the UK, we don't actually have an Islamic calendar because the Islamic calendar is based on lunar sighting. But when Muslims first arrived in the UK, like my dad, he came from Bangladesh, they found it difficult to see the moon because they said, wow, this country is so cloudy. And if you can't see the moon, you can't have a calendar. And the New Crescent Society, formed in 2016, asked the question, if we had enough moon sighters, could we see the moon? Would we be able to have a calendar? And we've found over the last 5.5 years, we can have a perfectly functional Islamic calendar here in the UK using moon sighting, just like they do everywhere else. And we hope one day to launch a calendar here in the UK. We're working with the community, and what better partner than the Royal Observatory Greenwich, which is the home of time itself, and where time finds a consensus, which is what we're trying to do here in the UK.
Well, absolutely, and well said. And like you say, we're going to be talking to some of the members of the New Crescent Society later and seeing moon sighting really in action across the country, which is going to be fantastic. Now, for those who are watching from home, who might be moon sighting themselves, you might be wondering what your odds are of seeing the moon this evening. Or even if you're watching from somewhere across the globe, what are your odds today? Well, let's take a look at the global visibility map to get a bit of a better idea of that. So what we have here is a map of the entirety of the globe, and you're seeing different zones which will give you a different chance of seeing the moon this evening. So, for example, at the moment, the UK, in fact, most of the UK, just except for the northern tip of Scotland, is currently in Zone A. Now, before we even think about the weather, being in Zone A means that we should have a good chance of seeing the moon with the unaided eye. As you move over into Zones B and C, you're then relying more on things like using optical aids like binoculars or telescopes first of all, and then spotting it with the unaided eye. And as you move on into those zones, the chances get less and less until Zone F It's just physically impossible for you to be able to see it, unfortunately. Imad, for those across the globe who are unable to see the moon this evening, what does that mean for them in terms of Ramadan?
That is a great question. I think to answer that question, we have to have a short preface on how the Islamic calendar works, and it's a very easy calendar. The Islamic calendar is based on lunar visibility, and a month in the Islamic calendar has either 29 days or 30 days. It's very simple. All you do is every 29th of the month, so today is the 29th of this month, we go out and look for the moon. If we see the moon, this month has 29 days, and if we don't see the moon, we round up and we have 30 days. Now, if you don't see the moon for any reason, including even cloud cover, there's a famous teaching of the Prophet where he said, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, even if it's cloudy, round up to 30 days. So if they don't see the moon, they'll round up. I've already heard from countries like Bangladesh, where I have family, they didn't see the moon today. So they rounded up to 30 days, and they're going to begin Ramadan on Friday. If we see the moon today, which I think we might do, we'll start Ramadan on Thursday. So it's perfectly normal, ordinary, and scientific for different parts of the world to start Ramadan or any month on different dates, just like the lunar visibility chart indicated in the slide we just saw.
I see. So is it possible you could end up with someone who saw the moon in Manchester but didn't in Birmingham? Would they start on different dates, or would they go by one UK sighting?
That's a very interesting question. How we propose is we work together on these islands. So, in fact, if we don't work together, we won't have a calendar because it is cloudy. Sometimes it's cloudy in Greenwich. It's actually quite cloudy today in Greenwich. I'm not sure if we'll see it. It's a prestigious location, but you don't control the weather, sadly.
No, absolutely.
But we might see it in Manchester. And in this way, sometimes the north sees it and we don't see it in the south. Sometimes they see it in Wales, but they don't see it in Scotland. And when we work together, that's how we find we have a functional calendar in the UK. I think in the past, Muslims maybe were concentrated in the urban centres, but because we've got such a spread of moonsighters now, this becomes possible. So we have to work together in order to have a functional calendar. It's a community calendar, and this is the only way it can work, through working in a network.
Fantastic. Well, for those who do have clear skies this evening, if you're out looking for the moon, what will it actually look like? Well, we've got a bit of a visualization here that we can show you. Now, in this, you might even struggle to be able to see it, but right there in the center of the frame, in fact, even here we've got it up in front of us, it can be difficult to see exactly where it is, but you should see in the center of the frame there is this very, very thin crescent, almost a backwards C shape that you can see there. And that is a 1% waxing crescent moon. It's about as small as it can possibly get. We're only about 25 hours after the astronomical new moon phase, when it would be physically impossible for us to see it. So this is incredibly small, or incredibly thin. Imad, as someone who has sighted many moons in the past, how difficult is it to see a 1% new crescent moon?
It is challenging, I have to say. And I think for those of our moon sighters, if you're watching and you're looking in the skies, I think it will be very thin, and I think it will be very faint. But might I suggest, better than thinking about the 1% illumination or magnitude or altitude or azimuth or all of this complex data, that map you showed us there, I think is the easiest way to know if we can have a chance to see the moon. The data is produced by Her Majesty's Nautical Almanac Office, and this map, the best, easiest place I find it is on a website called moonsighting.org.uk, run by my colleague. But you can also go to HMNAO's website. It's down right now, but you can go to their website. And they indicate, just like you've mentioned, an A code means it's easily visible. So today is very peculiar. It's 1% faint, but it says it's an A code. So I think it will be visible with a bit of a challenge. I want to also add, this moon is 25 hours old. The youngest moon we have seen in our experience was just over 23 hours. So it's closer to, it's not a record for us, but it's closer to the youngest moon we've seen. I think we'll see it, but it will be challenging today.
So, well, it's going to be a tough one, but we are optimistic.
Absolutely.
And we are not alone in our search for the new crescent moon this evening. We have, across the UK, many, many members of the New Crescent Society who are out sighting the moon this evening. What we've got here is just a few of these locations. This is not a definitive list. There are so many others. In London alone, we've got Greenwich, that's us. We'll get on to our odds in just a moment. But we've also got Croydon and Northolt in London alone. But then we've got loads of major cities, places like Birmingham and Bristol, Leicester, Oxford, and even Glasgow in Scotland and Cardiff in Wales as well. As well as that, we have the roaming sighter, someone who we don't know exactly where they are right now. So explain this to us, Imad. Who is the roaming sighter?
Well, we have somebody in our team, he's called Junaid, and what he likes to do, he's very enthusiastic. He travels around the country and he'll wake up in the morning and he'll look at the weather report and he'll say, I'm going here today. He's been to Land's End. A few people in our team have been to Land's End. He's been to Scotland. He just goes everywhere. He actually lives in the northwest of England, but today he's near Great Yarmouth. So he's around. And we have moon sighting locations across the country. You've seen around 15 or 16 there. Those are the locations we have for our live stream, meaning if anybody sees the moon, it will be from those locations. But I've counted and we've had confirmation of more than 40 moon sighting locations around the country. There's a big buzz. Do you know when I did this in 2018 here at Greenwich? I think it was just me and somebody else in the country. But since New Crescent Society has been training people, we've got a few thousand people looking for it. It used to be just me and my mate. Now we've got a few thousand. So it's really caught fire, it's captured people's imagination. And if you see the moon, please let us know.
Absolutely, yes. So, in fact, if we just go back to that map for just a minute there, the things we have there on the map really don't do it justice. One thing that is worth pointing out is you can see right now, it looks like the roaming moon sighter is actually in the Celtic Sea. I think we should assure people that he's okay and he is not swimming around in the sea right now.
But we did used to have a moon sighter who worked on the ferries between Liverpool and Ireland. Oh, wow. And he used to come in on Zoom on the ferry in the Irish Sea. So it's not unprecedented for us. Fantastic.
Now, here in Greenwich, we've already alluded to it. The weather here is really not in our favour this evening. It is cloudy. In fact, overcast, I believe at the moment. We're indoors, as you can tell, so we can't tell right now. But one of the big problems for us actually is the wind. We were hoping to have a telescope on the roof of Flamsteed House, the oldest part of the Royal Observatory here in Greenwich. But unfortunately, the winds are gusting too high, so it means it's not safe to have an astronomer on the roof with a telescope. However, the nature of live shows means that we have for you a video of that astronomer, Dr. Greg Brown, talking us through what we would have done had we had the weather we wanted. So take a look at this.
Hi, I'm Dr. Greg Brown, one of the astronomers here at the Royal Observatory and the person who's going to be making use of our telescope to look for the new crescent moon this evening. Now we're going to be using this telescope here, our 127mm Maxitov. It's a reflecting telescope, so it's a telescope that makes use of a mirror. There's a mirror at the back here that gathers the light from the front of the telescope, bounces it to a secondary mirror in the top here, and then takes it out through the eyepiece, which is located at the back. Now, in order to get a view of this and enable you to actually see it, we are going to be using a smartphone attached to the back and then hooked up to a laptop to send all that information out to you. Now, we're up here on the roof of Flamsteed House because of the fantastic views that we have of London and our best chance to be able to see the moon this evening. Now, the weather at the moment, well, it's not great. It's not too windy, but there is a lot of cloud around, so we're very much hoping that we'll be in a better situation this evening when we're going to be looking for the new crescent moon. It's going to be very, very thin, very, very difficult to see. I do not have the easiest job, but fingers crossed we'll get a fantastic view of the moon this evening.
Dr. Greg Brown there earlier from the roof of Flamsteed House. Yes, at the time he did say it's not too windy, and unfortunately now it is too windy. But there we go. That is the nature of British astronomy, as we know all too well.
Very much so.
Yes. Now, we have had a few questions come in from our viewers. So, Imad, what do the people want to know?
I've got a lot of questions. I'm not being rude looking at my phone, sending text messages. I'm reading the questions that have been sent in. Some I think are more towards me, some are towards you. So if I begin with one which is more towards me, if that's okay. Well, maybe you. The question is, can the visibility of the crescent be determined with certainty in advance?
I think I will pass this one over to you as someone who has sighted the moon, well, who has so much experience with it. So I'll pass that one to you.
The answer is visibility is determined by many things, light pollution, haze, and of course cloud cover. We don't have the ability to predict the weather so far in advance. So the answer is the data can help us know if we expect to see the moon, but ultimately, unless you go and see the moon for yourself, we don't know if the moon is sighted or visible. So the answer is no. On the other hand, it can tell us for certain that the moon is invisible. For example, if the moon is below the horizon, we know that the moon is not visible. If the moon is too thin, too low on the horizon, it doesn't have enough light, we know the moon will not be visible. So it can tell us for sure when the moon isn't visible, but ultimately to know if something is visible, we have to go and see it, would be my answer. I have a question for you now, if that's
Absolutely.
okay. Great question. Can I see the moon during the daytime?
Yes, absolutely you can. Depending on where the moon is in its orbit around the Earth, it does sometimes appear in the daytime sky. In fact, over the coming days, we're going to notice it more and more. So yes, you can see the moon in the daytime sky. If you've looked up during the morning or the evening and seen it, it's not your imagination. It is the moon. It is there. As it orbits around us, it is bound to come into the daytime sky from time to time.
Thank you so much. I think we've got some more time for questions.
We can do one more,
One
absolutely.
more, okay. So I'm going to ask you, why does the moon look largest closer to the horizon?
It's a really good question, and this is actually one that we get quite a lot at the observatory. So this is often known as the moon illusion.
Right.
Essentially, when we are used to seeing the moon up high in the sky, we don't really have any reference point to relate it to. But however, when it comes lower down on the horizon, suddenly you're seeing it next to familiar objects that are very far away. And it does make the moon look a lot larger, though of course it's not any closer to us. It is an illusion essentially. You're seeing familiar objects next to it, which makes the size comparison seem so much larger.
Wow, it's an illusion. Seeing is not quite believing. But if you see the moon today, please let us know. We will believe you.
We will believe you, yes. Fantastic. Right, well, we will answer a few questions later on in the live stream. But now, as we mentioned earlier, we have moon sighters across the UK this evening from the New Crescent Society, hoping to spot the moon. At this point, we don't know if anyone has spotted it, but we are going to have a chat with a few of them now and see how it's all going. So hopefully, we can talk to one of them now. So just bringing them forward now. Imad, personally, are you confident that we're going to get sightings early on, or do you think it might come later on?
That's a very good question. The new crescent moon is harder to see at the beginning of the evening because there's not enough contrast between the sky and the moon. So I would imagine we see it slightly later. I've looked up the data from HMNAO, which suggests the best time to sight the moon is around 7 o'clock, but you have until around 7:30 to sight the moon. So please be patient. If you haven't seen the moon yet, your patience will be rewarded, inshallah. I hope so. So I'm not sure if anybody will see the moon right now, but let's see where we have anybody or what's going on.
Fantastic. Well, it looks like we have got someone joining us.
Oh, assalamu alaikum. I can see you. Is that Umar?
Yes, it's me.
How are you, Umar? Please introduce yourself. Who are you? Where are you? What are you doing?
Hello, everyone. My name is Umar. I'm the NCS coordinator in the West Midlands. I'm currently in Birmingham Yardley in Oakland's Recreation Park. We're joined by, I think, over 100 people. It's been our biggest turnout, and it's actually amazing to see.
And have you got any news for us? What's the weather like? Have you seen the moon? Please give us a bit of an update.
Yeah, I'll just flip my camera. So it is quite cloudy where we are. We did come early and we saw where just before the sunset. Towards the top, there's a bit of gap, so we're just waiting and hoping. But we actually got an amazing turnout with loads and loads of families and individuals joined us. So we prayed our Maghrib, people are having food, they're playing games, they're having fun, and everyone's out here just hoping that they get to see the crescent moon. I think you can see Jupiter. I don't know if it's quite clear on my phone, but we can see that now.
Wow, well, it's an incredible turnout you have there, Umar. And what's the mood? What are people thinking? What are they saying? How do they feel there today?
So for a lot of people, it's their first time. And I think everyone just really finding it amazing. And, the message we left them that if you don't get to see it this time, there's always next time. And once you've seen it, you're going to always wanting to come back for more. So I think we've whet people's appetites. People are really enjoying it. They got lights out, games out. There's 2 binoculars at the top, one set up for children, one set up for adults. So they're taking it in turns and having a look as well. Yeah, we're here hoping, but everyone's in a really good mood. Everyone's really enjoying it. And we just like to take the opportunity to thank New Crescent Society and Royal Greenwich Observatory for facilitating this as well.
Well, thank you so much, Umar. It's great to hear from you. But be patient. You have another half an hour to 40 minutes, and you may yet see them in.
Yeah, hopefully, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. Fantastic. In just a moment, we're also going to switch across to talk to another one of our moon sighters. And well, Imad, it seems like the energy in the air is excitement.
It's incredible. The first time I began sighting was 10 years ago. I didn't really know what I was doing, but the first time I saw the Ramadan moon for myself was on the live stream here, and I felt immense joy. It was just an incredible experience, and the people who I've met across the years have told me, we read about this in books, sighting the moon, and we never experienced it. I've had elderly people cry tears, say, we heard about this our whole lives, but this is the first time we've seen the moon. And especially children as well, it's a great day out for them. We've got a lot of scouts groups who come out with us, so there's a lot of excitement, a lot of buzz, and I hope we get to see the moon today.
Fantastic. It looks like we've got our second moon sighter on the line. Hello.
I can recognize it's Christopher. Assalamu alaikum, Christopher. How are you?
Assalamu alaikum, Ahmed. How are you?
All the better for seeing you, Christopher. Tell me what's going on. Where are you? Who are you? And where are you?
So I'm Christopher. I've been moon sighting for 4 years, so quite experienced, and I'm at North Fields, northwest London, and we have a very large gathering here.
Wow, wow, wow. News, Christopher.
Yeah,
have you seen the moon? What's going on?
We haven't seen the moon, no, unfortunately.
What's the weather like?
The weather is cloudy, very cloudy. I saw a beautiful sunset earlier, but yeah, it's cloudy at the moment.
And what's the mood? Do you think you might see the moon today, or do you feel
no,
that
no, I don't think it's going to happen here, no.
Okay, London, although it is the capital city, I think sadly has been quite overcast today, so it's not the best location today. Tell us a bit about the crowd. Who's in the crowd? Where have they come from? What's the makeup like?
So lots of families are here. We also had Hassan Rasool, who's quite famous person who did the Adhan for us, which was absolutely amazing.
Yep. Thank you so much, Christopher. Sounds like you're going to have a great time whether you see the moon or not. Have you got food with you?
Yeah, we have got food. I've just had some cake.
Oh, amazing, amazing. Well, it's good. Well, at least you had if not the crescent, at least you've had some cake.
Great atmosphere here.
Thanks, Christopher.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum, Imad.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you, Christopher.
Fantastic. Now, we have just heard some breaking news that one of our moon sighters has indeed seen the moon. So we are going to go to that person as soon as we can.
Wow. And it's our roaming moon sighter, Junaid. Junaid, assalamu alaikum. It's really windy, Junaid. I can't hear you, but have a go.
I'm sorry, unfortunately, I'm aware it's quite windy here.
Tell us the news, Junaid. What's happened?
Well, anyway, I've seen the moon.
Wow. Wow.
The main thing I wanted to know, and everyone wanted to know, I've seen the moon from, I'm in a Scarborough area. I've left my home in the morning and hunting the clear sky in UK, and I've been all over the eastern coast and ended up here and saw clouds again, but I was optimistic, and then I saw the moon around 6:30 with my binoculars, but not with my eyes, and it was it was dead cloudy beneath. So I was very upset, but then I ran around 300 meter away. I ran on the cliff, hoping that I'll get an angle to see some kind of space. And I was still upset because it's quite dense black cloud. You'll see in the picture. And then I saw the crescent moon 100% with my naked eyes for around 13, 40, 15 seconds between the clouds. And then it's gone again. So I've seen the moon. It's been amazing.
Incredible, Junaid. Did you get a picture of the moon?
Yes, indeed, I've seen the picture as well. Yes, I have binoculars pictures, I think I've shared, but my camera pictures as well. Yes, I've got proper professional pictures, yes.
Is there any way you could show us on your camera as we're here, or is that going to be too difficult for you?
No, it's not possible because it's quite dark. I'm on the you can't see, but I'm standing on a cliff, and it's quite, it's not visible around my area, and I'm a bit unsafe.
That's incredible.
So I need to go to a safer place.
That's incredible, Junaid, and we'll share your pictures on our Facebook later on. But I think with your, would you like to say in a form of a testimony? Some mosques enjoy that.
Indeed, yes, I Junaid Patel. I live in Bolton, but I came to see the moon here at Skybrow with Maulana Mufti Hanif Dudwala, who was my colleague, who traveled with me, and I saw only the moon with my naked eyes and binoculars from this location today, 22nd of March 2023, Wednesday, after sunset around 6:45 or whatever it was. Yeah.
That is incredible. Thank you so much, Junaid. So we can now confirm.
I'm very delighted to. sorry if I'm very delighted that Greenwich arranged this live session, and we feel we appreciate the doing this live for us, and it's very delightful.
We appreciate you've made that journey and you've seen the moon with your eyes. Thank you so much, Junaid.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. That is really exciting. Junaid has seen the moon. This guy is probably the most skilled astronomer we have, as well. He's very good with technology. He travels around the country, and he's a very skilled astronomer. He's a very skilled astrophotographer as well. So absolutely delighted, and I can just say now to the audience, we have seen the moon. Junaid's taken some pictures of the moon that he'll send. We'll share those pictures on social media shortly after the stream. But I can therefore confirm the moon has been seen, and based on what Junaid has just said, me and everybody else will be fasting for Ramadan tomorrow. The month has begun. Ramadan Mubarak. Amazing.
Fantastic. There we are.
That's incredible.
That's absolutely fantastic. So, well, from here, wow, yeah. From here, if there's anyone who is watching, who is still trying to sight the moon, if they're heading out right now even to take a look at it, where should they be looking? What tips would you give them right now?
That's a great question. In general, if you're looking for the moon, it really helps if you watch the sunset. Of course, sunset has passed now. But if you watch the sunset and mark where the sun sets for every single month, wherever you are on Earth, watch the sunset on the 29th of the month, and the moon should emerge, if visible, somewhere near the sunset. The sunset has already happened, and we still have half an hour left. So if you take out a phone compass, for example, and look in the western horizon, or if you know where the sunset normally happens, look towards the west, and you should see the moon if you have clear skies. We've already had one person see the moon. Look towards the west, and hopefully you'll see the moon. If you've seen the moon as well, please put it in the comments. Share some pictures, let us know. We've already had one person, and normally if we have one person, we get a few others in the country see the moon too.
Fantastic. Well, one of the questions we get all the time at the Royal Observatory, which is quite an apt one for this evening, is why do we see the phases of the moon? Why is it a new crescent right now? Why do we see those other shapes throughout the month? Well, that is all to do with the fact that the moon is orbiting around the Earth. In fact, we have an animation here that can show us a little bit better what we're talking about here. So, as we can see in this very simple graphic, we've got the moon orbiting around the Earth while the sun is shining sunlight across to it. As the moon orbits around the Earth, different amounts of sunlight will fall across the near side of the moon. So that's the side that we can see with our eyes. And that is what causes that almost strange change in shape of the moon that we see throughout the month. So we get all of these wonderful phases that we see. And in fact, at the moment, what we're seeing is the new crescent moon. So we are coming right out of the astronomical new moon phase when the moon is simply not visible to us. And as we said earlier, we're about only 25 hours into the lunar cycle. Now, because it takes 27.3 days for the moon to orbit around the Earth, you might assume that's how long the lunar cycle is as well. But in fact, it's a little bit longer. In fact, it is around 29.5 days. And the reason for that is simply because the Earth is also moving in that time. It is orbiting around the Sun. So it does just take an extra 2 days for the moon to get back into its same relative position to the moon, to the Sun and the Earth, to get us back around again. So it can sound complicated, but it works like clockwork, month after month.
Just like clockwork, absolutely.
Just like clockwork. Now, all of this moon talk that we've been talking about the moon now, it may have inspired you to go out and see the moon, to maybe even take images of the moon, to do a bit of astrophotography. If that interests you, you might be interested in the Astronomy Photographer of the Year exhibition that is hosted by the Royal Observatory and displayed at the National Maritime Museum here in Greenwich. One of the categories of that exhibition is our moon, showing beautiful images of our moon. So what goes into a world-class image of the moon? Well, let's take a look and see.
Io riprendo principalmente dal mio giardino perché comunque i miei setup sono parecchio pesanti da trasportare, quindi trovo più comodo riprendere vicino casa. E la luna è molto facile da riprendere nella mia zona perché fortunatamente sale sempre sopra le case che ho vicine in modo importante e quindi non ho problematiche evidenti. L'immagine che è stata selezionata per la shortlist è Moon Big Mosaic. La difficoltà nel riprendere un grande mosaico lunare sta nel trovare le stesse condizioni per tutta la durata della sessione, per avere tutte queste singole immagini in alta risoluzione con uguale incisione. Il secondo problema legato appunto alla creazione dei mosaici lunari è l'unione di questi mosaici che deve essere fatta accuratamente e in modo manuale. Ovviamente l'astrofotografia non è solamente la parte principale della mia passione per l'astronomia, ma ho anche un gruppo di amici con cui guardo le stelle, con cui riprendo la volta celeste e con cui mi ritrovo regolarmente per condividere la nostra passione. Come lavoro faccio l'educatore in una cooperativa che lavora con la disabilità e mi piace ogni tanto portare il mio telescopio per far osservare ai nostri ragazzi il cielo sopra di noi. Il mio desiderio è quello di portare l'astronomia a grandi e piccini in modo che questa grande passione possa essere non solo mia e di tanti altri, ma anche di tantissime altre persone.
That was Moon Big Mosaic, one of the beautiful shortlisted images in the Astronomy Photographer of the Year exhibition. If you're interested in checking out that exhibition, all the details are at rmg.co.uk. So, from here we have already sighted the moon, which is incredible,
Yep.
and we have more questions that have come in from our viewers. So, what questions have come in?
I just want to say, by the way, I'm a judge on that competition, and the quality of pictures of the moon and everything else is incredible. Please do come down and see the exhibition. Questions, we've got some viewer questions that you've put in the comments. The question I have for you, Jake, is... Oh, I've just lost it there. How did the moon form?
How did the moon form? That's a really good question. Now, there are lots of different theories as to how the moon formed. One of the most popular amongst astronomers at the moment is known as the giant impact hypothesis. This is the idea that 4.5 billion years ago, when the Earth was relatively young, or in fact, well, very young, that a Mars-sized object known as Theia smashed into the young Earth, kicking up a lot of debris into space. And it's possible that at the time that debris actually formed a small ring around the Earth, actually. Slowly over time, that material coalesced together in orbit around the Earth to form the moon that we know and love today.
Wow.
And in fact, some of the moon rock that was brought back by the Apollo astronauts, when it was analyzed for its chemistry, some of the chemistry in those rocks was identical to chemistry found in rocks on the Earth.
Wow.
Which tells us that there are parts of the Earth inside of the moon, which helps to support that hypothesis.
That is incredible because, you know, we're always saying we should connect to the moon, but it turns out here on Earth we're more connected than we imagined.
Absolutely,
incredible. Have I got time for another question?
Yeah, absolutely.
I might field a question to me. There's a question which is, what is the word for moon in Arabic?
What is the word for moon in Arabic?
Well, I'll tell you the word for crescent. The word for crescent in Arabic is hilal. And it's a very interesting word. The root halala means to scream and to shout out in joy. So the idea is you see the new crescent and you scream and shout out in joy. It's actually related to an older Hebrew word, hallelujah, which means to scream and shout out and be happy in I guess, in praise of God. So I feel like Junaid's experienced that. We've experienced that joy of seeing the crescent. It's coded into the word. And I think we're going to go to some other locations soon and see if they've seen the moon as well.
Yeah, well, I love that, first of all. And yeah, you're absolutely right. We are going to go now to more of our moon sighters from the New Crescent Society.
Oh, assalamu alaikum, Rahma, how are you?
Wa alaikum salam, I'm well, alhamdulillah. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm a student at Cambridge University and Rahma's an astrophysicist graduate from Cambridge University. So pleasure to see you. Would you like you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about what's happening?
Of course. Like Brother Imad said, I did astrophysics at Cambridge and now I'm doing a PhD at the University of Portsmouth, also in astrophysics. I'm here in Cambridge today and we had an event with the mosque. So for an hour we talked about the spirituality of moon sighting and I talked about the science of moon sighting. And then we came out here to one of the fields nearby the mosque to do some moon sighting. And there was a huge group of us, like at least 60 people with us here today. And praise be to God, we actually sighted the moon. It took a while. There's a lot of haze. And we stood there, we prayed our evening prayers first. And then we went back to sight the moon. And we stood there and it was just so incredible. Like when the first person saw it and then they exclaimed. And then the series and the chorus of exclamations that came afterwards, it was just incredible. Allahu Akbar. So yeah, we saw it whilst it was almost about to set. And what really helped was spotting Jupiter because the moon was directly below Jupiter. So once we'd found Jupiter, which also took a while to find, soon after we got to see the hilal.
That is a very intelligent method of locating the crescent today. So tell us a bit about the crowd. So all of the crowd saw it really. So there's a large mass sighting of the moon.
We were all helping each other spot the moon. It was a really difficult one to spot. And this field isn't too big, so it was near some houses and some trees. Because, like I said, it was already nearly about to set. And the clouds just moved away and revealed the moon for us, alhamdulillah.
That is incredible.
So the group consisted of families in the local area, people who were coming here to pray, and the imam was here of the mosque. It was just the community, basically, the Muslim community here in Cambridge.
That is absolutely inspirational and incredible to hear. Thank you, Rahma, who is a very experienced astronomer and astrophysicist who led that group today and took them through a moon sighting training. Congratulations on seeing the moon. And you're the second group who's seen the moon, so we can really say with a lot of certainty now the moon really has been seen. Did you take some great pictures?
Oh my gosh, I was too excited to, but others did.
Others did, okay. They've got a very strong media team in Cambridge, so we look forward to those pictures. Thank you so much, Rahma. Thank you to everyone in Cambridge. And I'll see you soon when I'm back in Cambridge. Thank you.
Inshallah. See you soon, Imad.
Okay, wow. I'm quite moved that we've seen the moon.
You can feel the excitement and some of the emotion as well, actually. It's an amazing thing.
And it shows that we all need to work together. We are in the most prestigious location of astronomy on, I would think, the planet, Greenwich. And yet we couldn't see the moon from Greenwich. We saw a great video of the telescope. We couldn't use it due to health and safety, and maybe the telescope would get damaged. And even still, we are able to see the moon. And this is what I love about the Islamic calendar. It's a community-based, grassroots calendar. Sometimes I see it, sometimes I don't. It's a team sport. As long as we're all trying and we're all looking for the moon together, we have a perfectly functional Islamic calendar here in the UK. I guess, you know, a calendar, by definition, is an agreement on how we measure time. You and I both agree today it's Wednesday the 22nd of March by Act of Parliament, but it's an agreement between society. And I like that about this calendar. We have to work together. We are a society, we're a community together. And that's where, you know, how I came up with the name, New Crescent Society. We need to work together.
Fantastic.
I think we have another person with us. And Assalamu alaikum, Tawsif.
Wa alaikum salam, Imad. How's it going?
Well, Tawsif, I'm very happy to see you. You're in Leicester. Tell us who you
can see me.
Yeah, tell us who you are, where are you, and what are you up to?
I'm Tawsif. I'm in Leicester, a location called Hamilton. Well, unfortunately, we've not been able to see or sight, but mashallah, alhamdulillah, we've had an amazing turnout. Apologies for the darkness. You might not be able to catch much, but we've had a brilliant turnout. A lot of families, a lot of people out here trying to sight the moon for Ramadan.
Tell us,
so mashallah, it's
well,
great to see.
I will tell you, Tawsif, if you haven't heard already, we've seen the moon in more than one location around
I've been
the
following.
country.
Mashallah.
But tell us what it's like to take a group out and not see the moon. Does it feel disappointing? Is it still a happy occasion? What does that feel like?
No, I think it's really good. Like, especially there's a lot of young kids as well, which is good to see. So inshallah, that gives them the motivation to carry on the sunnah. Also, it's just nice to see families, like, you know, having a little picnic, people praying the salah, the Maghrib salah outside. It's just really, really good vibes.
That's incredible. Well, you didn't catch the moon this time, but it is a team sport, as I just said. And there are times when Leicester's seen the moon and other parts of the country haven't seen the moon. So we will get a chance.
Alhamdulillah.
Thank you so much, Tawsif, for joining us today at the Royal Observatory. And I'll leave you back with the crowd you have there gathered in Hamilton in Leicester. Thank you so much, Tawsif.
Thank you. Exactly.
Fantastic. And a huge thanks to those moon sighters from the New Crescent Society and everyone else who unfortunately we couldn't bring on in time. But I mean, it's been a successful.
It's been very successful. I'll be honest, I woke up so stressed out today. I was looking at the weather reports. It said cloudy, cloudy, everywhere cloudy. I go through the same anxiety every month. The weather reports keeps telling me it's cloudy.
Yeah.
It feels like sometimes the British weather is, you know, overcast. But as you see, if you have a network and you're working together, you will see the moon. We've had at least 2 locations sight the moon, and maybe more by the end of the evening. We still have time, and we still haven't heard from everybody maybe. So I can confirm to everybody at home, if you're watching, the moon has been seen here in the UK. We've seen it in Cambridge, and we've also seen it, I actually can't remember where he said he'd seen it, but I think it was in the East Coast. Oh, and the moon, I'm just hearing, it's been seen in Scotland, in Dundee. In Richmond, it's been seen. They're shouting out to me. So we've seen the moon in multiple locations across the UK. I'm so happy to hear that. And I can say with some degree of elation as well as relief, Ramadan Mubarak.
Fantastic. Yes. So if you are out moon sighting and watching us at the same time, first of all, thank you for multitasking. But also, once the moon sets around 7:30 this evening, if the skies are still clear where you are, you might want to do a little bit of stargazing, and we can help you with that. So here is what is in the sky this evening shortly after the moon sets, about 7:30. So following the moon into the moon set in the west, we have Jupiter. In fact, as the moon sets, you might be able to see Jupiter is almost directly above the moon, just by a few degrees actually. To the naked eye, you should be able to notice it low on the western horizon as a bright white dot. Now, if you want to differentiate it from all the other bright points of light you see, the stars, you might notice that this one does not twinkle because it is a planet. Stars twinkle, but planets do not. So that's a good way to tell that that is indeed Jupiter. If you sort of keep on following this sort of line of planets up the sky, following a line that's known as the ecliptic, you'll see just above Jupiter and slightly more to the south, Venus. Venus, and this evening, Venus is going to be the brightest thing in the night sky. It's an incredibly bright object. It will be a bright white dot, just a little bit brighter than Jupiter. That is Venus, often known as Earth's twin, because they are a similar size, though Venus certainly not as loving a world as our own, shall we say. Usually temperatures of over 400 degrees. Moving further up into the sky, very high in the southwest after the moon sets, we also have Mars, nice and high in the southwest. One way you'll be able to tell that it is indeed Mars is even to the naked eye, even from central London or other major cities, it does shine this wonderful shade of orange that you can see. So that's one of the ways you can tell. And again, it won't twinkle like the stars do. So there are 3 easy targets for a bit of stargazing after the moon sets this evening. And well, with that, we have come to the end of the live stream this evening. It's been a successful evening. It's been a lot of fun. Imad, do you have any final thoughts before we wrap things up?
Well, as I was saying before, the word hilal comes from the word joy. The hilal means crescent, and it's related to joy. I'm so joyful today. We have seen the moon. I'm happy that we're starting Ramadan, and I wish everybody at home who's been looking for the moon, Ramadan Mubarak, or if you've just been watching the stream and not watching the moon, I hope you've been inspired to go out and sight the moon, and 29 days from today you can go and look for the moon. That will, maybe if you see it, mark the end of Ramadan and the end of fasting. I'll be fasting tomorrow, so no more biryani for me in the daytime tomorrow, but hopefully I gain something else through the fasting. Thank you so much to the Royal Observatory Greenwich for facilitating this. It's a place of public astronomy, and your engagement with the community in this innovative way is really loved and appreciated by all of the community, as you saw on the live streams. So I really want to thank the observatory for this partnership, and long may it continue.
Well, thank you very much, and yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. Huge thank you to you, Imad. A huge thank you to all of the members of the New Crescent Society, those amazing moon sighters who we spoke to earlier, and all of the moon sighters as well across the country this evening and beyond as well. As well as that, a huge thank you to our team here at the Royal Museums Greenwich, to our AV team, our web team, marketing, everyone, my fellow astronomers on the astronomy engagement team, and of course as well to you at home for watching us. So thank you so much for tuning in, for joining us this evening, and wherever you are, we wish you very clear skies and a very nice evening. Thanks very much.